Hello there, YouTube. Welcome back to Probably Dealing Too Much Damage. Bruised here, and today what I have for you is probably, I'm not exaggerating, probably the most damage I've ever put into a character, probably the most damage I've ever had on a character, and it still be a decently thick and just extremely fun character overall, honestly, which is a Perforate of Duality Slayer. So as you see here, Giga Bruise, level 96. Perforate Slayer is the name of the game. That's what we're playing. That's what we're doing. And this character has absolutely been crushing it. This character, like I said, is actually probably too much damage in the sense of, like, you could very easily take some damage away from this character and build into even more thickness, and you would still be crushing the entire game. And it's great. I've been having a ton of fun playing this character. It's really just kind of thrown kind of a loop into my whole setup here, and really just kind of threw me for how powerful I could get Perforate to be, and just kind of it's pretty cool to do some good old stance dancing again. I haven't played Perforate since I did Impale Perforate a long while ago, but we are doing full Elemental this time around, and my showcase for you today will just be on a Maven kill. I know it's generic Maven, it's not Uber. I don't really usually bother with Ubers. I could do a tier 17 map as well, but I just didn't feel like rolling it. I'll be completely real with you. I just didn't feel like rolling a tier 17 map to then run. So we're doing a Maven, and you'll get the idea. So with that, let's just go in. We'll go ahead and fight Maven, and you'll see what I'm talking about by dealing tons of damage. Hi, Maven.
The prize piece comes to join.
Hopefully she doesn't teleport super far away at the start. She does always teleport. I just don't know where she's gonna go. Alright, there she goes. That's phase 1 down. It's so insane how much damage we get to pump. Now the brain. She does need to do that instantly. If she doesn't, she dies. If she doesn't do death will not be an escape immediately, she will just fall over. So if she does any kind of attack, she's doomed. Oh, it's rare I actually see her do a back and forth one.
Resistance will be punished.
Hiya.
Contorts.
And I will go over everything. I forgot to mention at the beginning, I will have the POB below if you just want to look at that. POB will just be down below. So, if you're somebody that just likes looking at the POB and moving on, it'll be there. I'll try to have some notes in it as well. Alrighty.
Scurry.
Oh.
Stop resisting.
Alright, and we won't have to deal with any puddles. I would like to say this is not this build's final form either. Oh, actually. She only got away with that because she was in the middle, and I know that the tincture was on cooldown. Damn it.
Scurry.
Whoops. Okay, my bad. My bad. He's seen Roa stronger than me, though. Okay, there she goes. My bad. I totally misread that. Hey, over conflict. Nice. I do enjoy our contests. Yay, we got a tank. Feels good, man. Ew. Okay. So, with that is the character, that is the build. Crazy amounts of damage that we just get to pump into all of the bosses. This character has done literally everything that I've thrown at it. The only thing it hasn't done so far that I haven't tested is Ubers, obviously, because I'll be honest, I don't care to run Ubers. Ubers, for the most part, to me, aren't really anything that I like doing. I will probably throw some Ubers at this character at some point, just for the sake of seeing how it is, but I kind of want to wait. I kind of want to try to get an even bigger version of my sword, because my sword's kind of like is good, but it could be better. And so I want to kind of try to want to see if I can get a better version of my sword, and then I will potentially try some Ubers after that. But outside of Ubers, it also, the only thing it actually failed was a not tier. It was a simulacrum. It was a simulacrum, and it was literally because chaos damage and chaos penetration, and it's a simulacrum. So you know, you get terrible loadouts. You sometimes get really bad modifiers. It happens. And that is the only thing that this character has failed at. Otherwise, it has absolutely crushed everything. It's been really strong, really fun the entire time. So with that, though, we'll kind of go into it. We'll kind of go into the overall build. So we have our tree here. This is actually, from what I've kind of seen from this build, is a very simple layout that you can use if you're doing a similar setup with Shroud of the Lightless. So we are Abyss Gem stacking. That is kind of our big deal here. We're taking as many jewel slots as we can that are nearby, so that we can get as many so that we can get as many Abyss jewels, in there as we possibly can. You could reasonably go over here and get this jewel socket as well, but I just kind of like pretty much all of the sauce as far as like where a good amount of damage goes and we get all of our life and everything is along the bottom row here. So I usually just kind of try to make a pivot down here. But like I said, this build is very much so you could do pretty much any skill that you want with this. This is not just, oh, you could just do Perforate and that's it. You could do pretty much anything that you want. If you wanted to do some other kind of AoE skill or something, you absolutely can. You just have to build it slightly differently. If you wanted to do a strike skill, you 100% can. All you do for a strike skill is just remove this Dance of Blades node here, and then you would just come over here and take Tribal Fury, and then take the non-vol strike skills target one additional nearby enemy. You would just take that. If you wanted to, so then if you were doing something like Lightning Strike, you would just take that node, and you'd probably cut one other point to take Point Blank. Or if you were doing Smite or something like that, you definitely could. You just get rid of those nodes and still just take that. So there's tons of different variations that you can do. I did a version of this build at the end of last league as well. It was a Heavy Strike Slayer, and it was also extremely good. It was very similar to this, but there were a couple differences. One, I was not running Light Poacher, and two, I was running the gloves that the I can't remember it's the Admiral boss from Settlers. I had his gloves on because they give you +3 levels to all melee skills, and I had a really good pair that was double corrupted, so I also was not running Tomb Fist. So it was like a bit of a hybrid version, but regardless though, this time around I wanted to go full Abyss items, full Abyss everything, and really lean into that kind of side of it, and then go Perforate, because I was feeling Stance Dancy, I was feeling Perforate-y, so here we are. So yeah, like I said, we're taking all of our nodes. I will say Ascendancy-wise, I probably should have done this at the start here, but Ascendancy-wise, it's you start Impact, Brutal Fervor, Endless Hunger, and then end it off with Bane of Legends. You can level with anything, realistically. I leveled very much so with Perforate. I think I used Perforate and Infernal Blow. I kind of swapped in and out between both of those. You can absolutely use either of, you can use whatever skill you want, realistically. Perforate is available immediately, so if you want to get used to the stance dancing style pretty often, then you can, or pretty early on, then you can. You can just use Perforate. But otherwise, yeah, you're just taking very generic stuff, you know, Art of the Gladiator, Bravery. We're going to take Defiance as well, cut through Golem's Blood. I would say you should probably take the shield stuff early. Don't worry about Versatile Combatant or Iron Reflexes until a bit later on. If you are doing Perforate early, I would definitely come over here to Dance of Blades and do the Attack Mastery here. The Attack Mastery is mostly because this skill will start to cost a lot of mana, and especially when you get on, you know, your Shaper Elder sword with a bunch of extra support gems, it'll start to cost a lot. So you can definitely just take this guy. If you feel fine with your mana, especially early on, just do Monsters Cannot Block Your Attacks. That way you can still just swap the node later if you need to, but it's at least a comfy node to have. But yeah, I would take Dance of Blades. I would say take Graceful Assault later on, and definitely take it after you get Dance of Blades, because then that's onslaught buff effect there. And we're going to come over here, we're taking Dismembering and the increased effect of non-damaging ailments. We're going to take Inexorable as the Mountain. We're coming up here for Blade Master. We're coming over here and getting Blade of Cunning. Whatever weapon type you're running, I would probably say don't really worry about taking Blade of Cunning or Blade Master. until you have a sword that you are actually going to use for a while, or like once you kind of get some of the better leveling unique swords going, then you can take these nodes, just so that way you don't have to pivot off of any points. And if you were like had an axe and you were running fellow foes, right, like you can just dodge those nodes for the time being, and then just take these nodes when you have an actual sword that is worth using, and then you don't have to worry about switching things. We're doing, but yeah, otherwise we're taking block, we're taking armor wherever we can. We're not going to take the Veteran's Wrath here because it's 4 points, whereas we can just get 3 points over here with Vengeance, and it's both really good and also it still gives us our armor or our rage very quickly, much like Veteran's Wrath does, but we just want to use Vengeance. We are also intimidating enemies, as is with Tomb Fist, so we actually don't even need the Mastery here as well. And then with our Large Cluster Jewel here, we are taking Feed the Fury, Field of Fight, Martial Prowess. Very standard Large Cluster Jewel that we have going here. Pretty much just get whatever you really need. We do technically get Attack Leech via these small nodes from being a Slayer. So if you want to swap out something else other than Feed the Fury, you most certainly can, but the increased attack speed while leeching is a really big bonus. And then we are just, of course, taking the 1 Murderous Eye Jewel here and the Interrogation here, because, of course, we are also stacking as many buffs, or as many elemental debuffs as we can on our enemies, especially. And so, yeah, so we're taking Secrets of Suffering here. I would say as well, just take Secrets of Suffering later. Once you get a high enough crit chance, then you can start taking Secrets of Suffering. But that is basically the tree. Like I said, I'll have this in the POB, which will be listed below. I'll have some generic notes as far as, the Ascendancy order and kind of the way to, and kind of like an idea of how to progress through the tree, but pretty generic stuff. I will say something to get used to, though, for sure, is just getting used to changing your stances a decent bit so that you keep your onslaught going. So kind of just knowing when you have a good moment to, like, switch to blood stance really quick, and sand stance. Of course, right before you're going into a boss, or right before you're about to fight a boss, I would definitely just say just be in sand stance, and then as soon as that boss is actually damageable, swap the blood and just let him have it. So that is what we're doing. Excuse me. That is what we're doing as far as all that goes. But that is very much so just how Perforate works. Whew, excuse me again. All right, and with that, we'll kind of roll into the itemization here. So what we have is Anarchic Spirit Blade, like I was saying. That's how we're kind of doing full elemental version. It is a Elder Shaper version, with the inclusion of Shaper and Elder Exalted Orbs this league. It's actually, it felt cheaper and easier, actually, to get to this point. So you can just use one of those Exalted Orbs, just slam it onto an Anarchic Spirit Blade, and then Awakener Orb a Elder or Shaper item onto it, and then just kind of start crafting from there. The way that I crafted this one, I believe, was just harvest spamming. I think I got lucky on this one. I just harvest spammed. I have so much juice right now. But you basically just spam, I think I just spammed Fizz or maybe Attack or Critical or Speed. But there's a ton of different things. I would probably say if you have a ton of juice sitting around, you're just going to spam that. Probably spam Critical, because 2 of the nodes that we would really want would be increased critical strikes and increased critical damage. So just spam Critical. And then obviously multi-strike is also another really big one that we want to get. Obviously, if you can get one at level 20, that's even better. Try to get a level 20 multi-strike. Try to get in a level 20 increased critical damage. Those are kind of the 2 big ticket gems that you can get, so go with that. Prefix-wise, we're also looking for 40% more attack damage with socketed attacks. So that would also be another really big bonus that we could have rolling for us. But regardless, this is the sword I'm using right now. I am crafting another one in here, so hopefully eventually I will craft this. You can also do fossil crafting. I want to say that the best like version is faceted, metallic, jagged, and corroded, which corroded is here, and you would do a 4, and that would be the best. That's like the best odds, I believe, to get kind of the gems that we really care about. But that is the Anarchic Spirit Blade. That's what we're rolling with. This is one of my absolute favorite weapon types in the entire game, so it's always really fun to make a build with it. With it, of course, we are running the Squire, because how else are we going to have just a crap load of support gems attached to us? So We have the Squire that we're running with it. In it here, though, we have Perforate, of course. You can buy 2120s for like, I don't know, 100, 150C or something. It was surprisingly cheap, actually, to get my hands on one of these. Close combat support, Awaken elemental damage with attacks. And then we are using Trinity, Volatility, and Awaken added lightning damage. I'll go into why we're using that in a little bit, but we are using that. It's just a lot of flat added damage regardless, so it's still good. And then in our helmet here, so like I said, we're using Light Poacher. I really wanted to use, where is it? Wraithlord. I really wanted to use Wraithlord. Unfortunately, there is a line there that I did not read immediately and didn't fully understand what it was doing. You cannot have non-Spectre minions, which unfortunately for this build means that we cannot have summon Skitterbots. It will just straight up turn that aura off, and you cannot have these guys. These guys count as minions. You can't have them with Wraithlord. So we're using Light Poacher with 2 Abyssal Sockets in here, and then just some decent rolls. It's really good for mapping anyway. Spirit Charges give you a lot of damage while you're mapping, but unfortunately I would have loved to run it with Wraithlord and just really had like almost no gems, but alas, here we are. So you have a Sigil of Power, as you saw. That's kind of what I'm putting down. Sigil of Power isn't a huge deal, and actually you can get a Mercenary, and when I talk about Mercenaries later, this one right here will cast Sigil of Power for us. And so with that, you actually won't need to really worry about Sigil of Power anymore, but you can also just keep it and have 2 Sigils of Power. More coverage, I suppose. So that's up to you. But Sigil of Power is just another good added lightning damage source that we have. Shield Charge, of course, just for mobility. And then we just have some Eye Jewels in here. All that you're looking for with Eye Jewels is like accuracy, life, resistances, and then just as much flat added damage as you possibly can. Same with, get stats as well wherever you need it. Just try to get as many stats and fill all your resistances. Do everything that you can to just kind of get you to a point where all of your stats and everything are working out. So that is really all that you're looking for with Murderous Eye Jewels. You just kind of pick your poison on which ones you need. We have a Yoke of Suffering here, of course. Enemies take 10% increased damage for each type of ailment you have inflicted on them, which is really good. So we obviously want to try to stack as many ailments on them as we can. Yeah, you just want to stack as many ailments as you can. If you had a source of poison somehow, that would be another ailment that you could get. So if you had I guess with one of these guys, you could, actually what I was thinking is with the infamous Storm Hand here, you could actually get it's the Volker's Guidance. Do I have the right pair? No, I actually don't. Oh, yeah, I actually don't have any of them right now. Anyway, there's a pair of Volker's Guidance you can get that gives your lightning skills a chance to poison. So I can't really think if there's better gloves to give her. Those gloves actually might give lightning res, so maybe not. But regardless, if anything, that's actually at least a decent thing to have, because then whenever that poison goes off, then that's another damaging ailment for the sake of Yoke of Suffering. I don't know. That might be just memeing too much, but regardless, that's where we are. Ring-wise, I have a Curse enemies with elemental weakness on hit ring, and then just crafted a bunch of intelligence, and then just waited till it hit something halfway decent and just crafted life. That's more or less what I'd recommend as well, but you can also go the taming route. Taming, of course, just a ton of damage, a ton more damage. We're applying all the elemental ailments on the enemy except for Ignite. So regardless, taming, huge damage increase. Builds resistances really well too, so very good ring overall. Not a bad choice to have, no matter what. But I wanted the curse. Curse is really nice to just have, so bada bing, bada boom. Went with this. I think it was literally 70C to buy this, so very cheap. Very, very cheap. And then we have Shroud of the Lightless here. Shroud of the Lightless, we've got Blood and Sand, Purity of Elements, Summon Skitterbots, and Precision in here right now, along with a couple Murderous Eye Jewels. Ideally here, the two big notes that I would probably say is probably look for one that has a implicit, like the increased max life, increased max life implicit instead of mana, or the reduced chaos damage taken, increase or levels of AoE gems, anything like that. Like, you can look for any number of Shroud of the Lightless, good corruptions, and that would be totally fine. What I will say is I will probably be dropping Purity of Elements pretty soon here for Determination, and that will come when I swap over to the Storm Hand here, and yeah, but we'll see. So that'll be a drop and then swap. Boot wise, of course, we have the Bonic Trail, Magic Abyss Jewel, Preservation Efficiency, while you have a unique Abyss Jewel. So we're using, actually we have Vol Smite in here just for a little bit of added sauce whenever we're fighting things. We actually get, as long as we actually get our Vol Souls going, which is fairly consistent to be able to do. Then we can pop Vol Smite. We'll have a buff that lasts, that gives us even more added lightning damage for quite a while. It's really strong, it's really nice. And then just Frostblink for traversal over like walls. And then of course we have a Tech Rod's Gaze in here, just so that we're getting a ton of crit out of this guy. And then and it has a corrupted You Cannot Be Maimed, so just solid option there. And then I have a 37 life and critical strike multiplier rare jewel here, also just a simple deal. Darkness Enthroned here, of course, and then just some Murderous Eye jewels to fill those stats, the life, the resistances, whatever that was needed. That is filled through this guy right here. Also pretty cheap last I looked for even 98%ers. I think I don't even know if they were a divine anymore. Like, we're kind of late in the league now in the sense that a lot of items are a lot cheaper right now. And then Tomb Fist over here, of course, we have the Murderous Eye Jewel socketed. We're intimidating enemies every time we hit them. And we're also fortifying ourselves. We do hit so often that Fortify is happening pretty much all the time. I don't think we ever have downtime on Fortify. And then, of course, just Eye Jewels here. So, bada bing, bada boom. There we go. We got more Eye Jewels. I will say, Flask-wise here, I'm actually kind of considering a bit of a change-up. But we have a Prismatic Tincture. I'm using weapon attack speed and increased effect here. There are other ones that are really good. There's, I think there's better tiers. Like, this is only tier 2, tier 3. But there is also Hits Penetrate, and there might be one for Crit Multi. I can't remember. Can't remember all the things I can roll on tinctures. Regardless, Tincture very strong. Basically just pop it anytime you have an opening to deal damage on a boss, and just try to roast him as fast as you can. And then as soon as you're in a situation where you have to back off or whatever, just try to remember to turn it back off again. Kind of a pain. I don't like tinctures for that regard. I forget to turn this thing off all the time, and then I'm like, why am I basic attacking right now? And it's because I forgot to do this, and it sucked me dry. Quicksilver Flask, of course. We have a Amethyst Flask here. That is because our Chaos Resist, or at least my Chaos Resist, is AS, straight minus 60. So we at least pop it just to get ourselves to minus 17. But I would say this is the flask that I'm actually probably going to look to replace. And I would keep this Amethyst Flask around in the background as just like I know I'm about to take some chaos damage from maybe a boss, or maybe there's a mod on like a map or something that I know I can't avoid. Then I would put this guy back on. But for the most part, what I'm going to swap this out with, I think, is Oriath's End, which is the Uber Cirrus item. Those are only apparently like 2 divines right now. And I really like that flask. The flask is a lot of fun and should make map clear for this build way bigger. So we're going to just do, I think we're going to swap out Amethyst Flask for one of those, and it will be very solid, very nice. And then we have a Granite Flask here, just for armor, and then we get a Flash Charge whenever we're dealing a crit, or at least we have a chance to, so we should be cycling through it pretty quickly. And then we just are used whenever we hit a rare unique. So that is our just generic flask setup there. All that kind of good stuff. I'm trying to think. Oh, I didn't talk about this medium cluster over here. This is just a crit one. It's quick getaway, pressure points, and then has an eye jewel in it. I did want Basics of Pain, so I would say pressure points, Basics of Pain would actually be a little bit better than quick getaway. But this is the one I rolled, and I am too lazy to roll off of it, so I will not be rolling that. Yeah, and that's all of that. What I will do really quick, I don't normally do this, but I want to pull up the POB for this character and just kind of show you how things are set in here, so that if you look at the damage, you'll be like, well, he's got to be full of it with the damage and everything here. There's got to be like some kind of trick to this. I just want to show you real quick how I have it put in here and how you can kind of how you can kind of adjust the damage if you want to see different kind of setups. So, as you see here at the start, we have 881,000, but that is before many things are actually ticked, many boxes are actually checked. So, need to make sure we have Secret to Suffering on, and this will be the POB that I'm using in the this will be the POB that I'm using to post below. So we have everything turned on here. Enemies at close range, melee distance to enemy, on average, it's about 1. I mean, even if we set it to 10, it doesn't matter. It's the same difference. So we are always very close to the enemies. That is just the way that it goes. Trinity, lowest resonance, 50. It's always set to max because we're always getting max. Sigil of Power, I just leave this at 1. We don't usually get more than 1 stage going when we put it down, so I'm just going to leave it at 1. We do get Frenzies, we do get Endurance charges. Spirit charges, just leave those blank. Rage, I do set to 30. Leeching. But, I mean, obviously, like I said, so if you want to see how damage is when you're at, like, 10 rage, look at 10 rage versus 30 rage. Whatever. That's just that. And then... Combat Rush, I was going to say, this doesn't matter because this is travel skills, so that would just be for other things, so that doesn't matter. And then Change Stance recently, yep, we will have Stance Danced into Blood Stance. And I think Riddle, I want to say I usually see like 2 or 3% at most. I feel like I might have to double check that. I'll double check the video and see what Maven is getting set to, and then I'll have it set to that. But I would say probably between 2 and 3%. We'll hedge and say 2. We'll go on the low end here. We'll say 2. Scorch, I don't know, 14, maybe 20% on the Scorch. And then the overlapping spikes, that's where you actually see a lot of the damage. And this is where the damage really shoots up. And this also is where, like, a lot of the damage is kind of dependent on what boss you're fighting. If you're able to position yourself where you're dealing, if you're able to position yourself in a way where you are hitting all of your spikes, then you'll be doing massive amounts of damage. Like you saw with Maven there, and like her brain and everything, she just melted because we could hit most of our spikes overlapping on her. But if you're doing maybe a smaller target, or maybe you just can't, like, maybe they're moving around so you can't hit them with all of the spikes as often, what I usually do is I hedge and I say we're usually hitting with 5. So as you see, that's 35 million. That is my usual hedge. But we do actually, every time we swap stances, we actually get plus 10 to our maximum number of spikes, I believe. Let me double check that. I believe it's plus 10 though. Yeah, it creates 10 additional spikes if you change stance recently. We will have changed stances recently, so we will have 10. So 105 million just on that alone. If you're able to hit all 15. So obviously, play around with that. I do feel like you can almost always hit at least 5. It's pretty easy to hit at least 5. Going from there is kind of a bit more of a positioning and a bit more of a size modifier on the boss. But yeah, from that, you can just kind of really play around and see the rest of the damage. There is still actually a lot that, surprisingly, if you activate the tincture, it's another 50 million. So yeah, there's actually still some improvements that I'm looking to make. Like I said, it's mostly in the form of the sword. If I can make the sword bigger, then we're going to be even better. Oh, and that's a good point. The last thing that we need to set, as far as making this build bigger, making things better, is our enemy lightning resistance. I haven't talked about our Mercenary yet, and that is because our Mercenary is running Doriani's prototype, and as of right now, this is strictly because we have Purity of Elements on, which does affect our Mercenary. They are set to minus 126 lightning res, so that puts our DPS to 279. Whenever I am able to drop and switch to a different Mercenary, then we'll be looking at, I think it's like 156. But in the meantime, 126. It's right around 100. So, also the enemy lightning resist, you have to remember that has to be set really low as well. I knew there was at least one thing I was forgetting. So 279 million, absolutely crack damage. And with that, we'll kind of go into the Mercenary now. But I wanted to show the tree I wanted to show the POB really quick and just kind of show what things you should adjust if you want to see what different damage values look like. And if you were looking at it going like, why does it have so much damage? I don't fully understand where all of it is. Here's how it's laid out. Here's how it works. So there you go. With that, though, let's go talk about the Mercenary really quick. So right now, I'm using Hako here.
Make up your mind.
Hey, buddy. we're using Hako here, and the big thing is basically Doriani's prototype. So like I said, this is how we're getting the enemy's lightning resistance to be so low. He is at 164 negative, and then when he gets my aura, he is at like 126. So ideally, that's also another reason I want to drop Purity of Elements. But he's here mostly for determination and endure, so he gives me endurance charges consistently. We already generate them very consistently anyway, but he also just does it regardless. So it's just endure is really good. Determination is just really good too, obviously. So then we can just run Purity of Elements. So he is a really good setup at the start here. I do know that a helmet that would be really good for him too is, I think it's called Blood Price is the name of the helmet. It makes nearby enemies reserve, I think it's like 8% of their life. And then you just, everything that you kill has 92% life instead. So really good, but we're using Doriani's prototype. That's the really big deal. He is not here for damage at all. In fact, he does basically no damage because he has Earthquake of Amplification with Brutality. Yeah, he doesn't do anything. But his Ball Ground Slam kind of does something. That's pretty much it. So he's not really here to deal damage. He is here to steal charges. He's here to just kind of apply things, do stuff, make sure that the enemy's resist is set super low, and also give us buffs with Kingmaker. So we're getting nearby allies. So then from him, we're getting Culling Strike. We're getting plus 50 to crit strike multi. The plus 10 fortification doesn't matter. We're always permanently fortified anyway, so that doesn't really matter. But it's kind of nice at the start of a fight. Maybe you don't instantly do that, or if you die in a fight and come back in, you at least start at 10 fortification, so you won't potentially get murked instantly. So very strong mercenary. Just kind of have, he also helps with our tankiness a little bit, but otherwise just give him a bunch of minus lightning res rings. These are all the ones that I have, and that's all, and all that good stuff. But I am going to probably pivot him to the Storm Hand, as I alluded to earlier. And the reason why is that there are wand mods specifically on the Crusader side. You can give them wands from the Crusader that increase the effect of the Wrath aura. And so she has Wrath, and also she has Sigil power too, which is also, again, just kind of nice to have. But she has Wrath, and then we give her 2 wands that she holds that will also boost the effectiveness of Wrath. We turn off Purity of Elements, we put on Determination instead, and then she is giving us Wrath, and that is just giving us a crap load more lightning damage on top of everything else. And we should just be able to cook even harder with Wrath applied to us instead of Determination and stuff. So right now we're kind of more on the tanky side with our guy over here. We're kind of just here with a guy that's giving us a lot of good buffs, but we're going to be pivoting over to a person that's probably going to give us even more damage than what Kingmaker is giving us, which is kind of crazy to say realistically. But that is kind of my plan as far as mercenaries go. But I am kind of keeping it. I'm keeping this guy as an option regardless, because if the Storm Hand here, if she dies a lot, like she just doesn't have the survivability with Doriani's prototype on her and all that good stuff, and everything else I'll have set. If she just can't survive, then I will pivot back to Earthshaker, because the more important thing is that you have a mercenary that is able to survive and keep the debuffs going on enemies than it is to have one that's giving you Omega damage. Like you saw, we're doing a crap load of damage. We are like shredding bosses and everything. Even tier 17s and everything have just been completely falling over, and it just doesn't matter. So very much so, just pick and choose whatever one both fits your budget and is something that you can just maybe it's just a matter as well of like whatever mercenary you find first. If you find a Stormhand first that has all the setup, cool, do that. If you find an Earthshaker first and you can just throw all the stuff on him, awesome, do that. Whatever. Either way, that's just kind of what they are. It doesn't have to be Earthshaker as well. I think the other one is Eruptor. Eruptor also works with this. So either one of those two will work and should add a ton of even more damage, even more good stuff for us as a build. All right, with that, I was doing a lot of rambling, but I think that's everything I have. I think that is all the notes I have for this character. Like I said, kind of the big thing that I'm really going to be working on is trying to get this, trying to get a better version of this. Oh, very quick side note. Make sure you get one at least item level 83. This one is item level 82. It doesn't matter too much as far as like this goes. It hit basically what I wanted it to hit. But item level 83 is where you can actually hit the Shaper mod for skills dealing 40% more damage. So make sure you have one at least item level 83 if you're going for that route as well. Otherwise, I mean, it's fine if you don't, because you can still, all of the gem modifiers, even the tier 1 gem modifiers, I think are only eye level 80. But it's really cheap to buy at least an eye level 83 plus Anarchic Spirit Blade. They're not expensive bases to buy, so there you go. With that, YouTube, I hope you enjoyed. I hope that this kind of properly showcased how much fun and how cool this character has been to really put together. I've thoroughly been enjoying this character. I'm kind of blasting through all of my challenges right now. I'll be doing, I think I'm just doing another 2. I think I'm just doing 2 challenges. I will probably just finish grinding gear goals and probably equip the elites, and that will probably be the last 2. And I'm probably just going to use this character to do it because he's fun and comfortable. I'll be crafting more on this build and might be streaming a few more times with this character. But otherwise, my overall plans is I might do one more character. We'll see. I have to kind of do a little bit of sciencing. There's something I have in mind already. I already have like an idea of what items I want to use, but I don't know what skill gems I want to use and if they would really be like actually fun or viable. So kind of up in the air as far as if I really want to go the route that I'm thinking of. But regardless, I'll probably do, after this character, there will potentially be one more build. I'll be still doing some streams and all that kind of good stuff, just on the side whenever I both have time and energy. But the overall league itself, I'll basically be stopping after this character, and like I said, the one more. Or if I try out that character and it doesn't fit and it fails really hard or something, too bad, we tried. But I will have all that hopefully up on my other channel as well if I do end up doing the extra character. And then I will actually be, unfortunately, out of town for both the launch of Last Epoch and Path of Exile 2, which is unfortunate for me. But hopefully everybody else has fun playing those 2 games when they come out. I know that I'm thoroughly looking forward to coming back and playing those games. It's going to be a really good time. But yeah, I will not have any videos or anything like that going up for Path of Exile 2 builds or ideas or anything like that, because I'll be out of town, like, I think a week, or I think even the week that they'll do the announcement stream for it, I'll be out of town for that. I'll be out of town for 2 weeks. So I'll be completely missing. I'll just be coming in a little bit late, but regardless, it'll be a lot of fun. Anyway, that's enough blabbing for me. YouTube, I hope you enjoy. I hope you both enjoyed the video, the content, hope you've been having a lot of fun with this league. Mercenaries has been so much fun to play. I've really been loving playing some Path of Exile 1 again. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you have any questions. I'm happy to answer whatever I can, or if you have any like suggestions for better ways or alternate ways to do anything. I'm always all ears. I love listening to that kind of stuff. It's one of my favorite things about this game and the community is hearing how things can work differently or what other setups people have found. So hope you enjoy. If you're still playing Mercenaries, hope you have a great time and continue to do so. And I don't have anything else, so with that, stay sane out there, Exiles, and I'll see you next time.